Hello everyone, hopefully you guys can hear me. Yo, what up? So today, I'm not really doing any music making per se, mostly just exploring the WMD carbon filter as requested by a good friend of mine. Yeah, just messing around with it, seeing kind of what sounds we can make with it. I have right now the Cubit Chord V2 going into it. Let me zoom this out. This is not going to be. Here's the back of my head. So the carbon is here. It's tiny. I don't really have a good angle to show it, which is unfortunate. But right now, what I have going into it. That is the Cubit Chord V2, like I mentioned. Maybe I didn't mention it, but I'm mentioning it now. So I have the Cubit Chord. I have it set to the furthest to the left bank, so the major bank, and I got the waveform set just 12 o'clock position. So that's what it sounds like. That is the filter fully open, no resonance, no CV on the low pass mode, but and we're coming out of the 4-pole output of the filter, no saturation, no folding. So it's just very clean filter sound. Nothing fancy. It just is what it sounds like. Let's see here. So, I have a trigger coming off Metron. I'm going to use that to trigger the Quart, which is sitting right next to me. Actually, the Quart's already in LFO. I don't even need to do anything with that, which is nice. I'm going to take one of the outputs of the Quart and just use it as a looping envelope, just to hear what that sounds like. I'm going to take the looping envelope into the FM. So the FM does have an attenuverter on it, so you can go positive with it. Second mic on. I don't think so. Oh, I do. I do have a second mic on. Thank you for calling that out. All right, how does that sound? Hopefully that sounds better. With no echo, because now none of the cameras are miking. So anyway, I have just a looping envelope from the Quart, just modulating the FM on the carbon. So obviously with it fully open, you're not going to hear much. This is with the frequency all the way down and the attenuation on the FM all the way up. And I think this is outputting a 10-volt signal, if I remember right. So nice, just plucky, short sound here. I switch to a longer envelope. So again, this is just the clean filter, no resonance, no fold, no saturation, plain, and it's in the low pass mode. So it does have individual outputs. So this is the 4-pole output, and you can switch between what that output is doing. So I just put it in band pass. You can hear the difference, obviously. a little clicky. Let me, there we go. And if I put it in high pass, almost got like a ducking effect just because it's a high pass filter. Well, let's go back to low pass. So it's cool that it's switchable. It does also have dedicated outputs for the low pass, high pass, and band pass, which is cool. So this is just the dedicated output of the low pass. Now you can see if I switch the modes, it doesn't do anything because we're just in low pass. Band pass, same deal. And high pass. The built-in attenuverter is nice because that means you can do ducking with just a simple envelope. You don't need anything else to do the inversion. So if you wanted to duck it with a kick, nothing else fancy here. Obviously it's not a VCA, but you get the idea. It's nice that that's included. Alright, let's see, let's start messing with the wave folding and saturation. So I was messing with this a little bit before, and I'm going to take the envelope out for now on the FM. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. No FM for the moment. We're just going to do some nice filter sweeps over these chords, and I'll switch over to a just a saw, or yeah, probably a saw later. So again, right now, this is the fully open, no saturation, no folding. So let's just turn on the saturation. So that's the first step of saturation. You hear a little bit towards the low end. Next step up. More low to mid. Here's a sweep. This is still no resonance. It does have a kind of a little, you know, it is kind of adding a little bit of its own resonance to it, I would say, based on my unprofessional, untrained ear. And then this is the third level. Definitely quite a bit more up at the top. And so I have you can't really see this on the camera, but I do have the Mordax data is just on the spectrograph mode, and you can just see like as you crank up the saturation, it just starts to fill more of the spectrum, which is good to know. Single gate button lit on Metron, and it's driving me crazy. There? Does that solve your problem? I was probably using that there. I'll use that one. I was going to use it eventually to ping the filter, but not at the moment. So. Alright, so saturation again. Now it's back to completely loud. So I think there's 4 levels of saturation. So this is fully open, level 1, 2, 3, 4. That was me turning the wavefolding on. The wavefolding, I think, does not work for chords because it's just pure noise. One more time stepping through that. So off, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I guess it's 3. Okay, so that's the saturation. Now let's look at the folding. I'm going to turn this down because I think the folding is pretty insane on a chord, particularly. I think it'll work better on a clean... more gate buttons, yeah. I think this would work better more on a not a polyphonic voice. So this is the fold on. So like up until, at least with this current chord, up until maybe 1 o'clock on the frequency knob, it's kind of under control. So that's at about 2 o'clock, maybe 2:30-ish. It's already getting pretty gnarly. And I don't know if you guys can see this on the spectrograph is just like blowing up pretty quick. So that's full open. Let me dial that back down again. So again, up until, and again, this is just this chord, which is already pretty high. Still okay. Distortion. So this filter in particular I like because I consider it a workhorse filter, I would say. It's just a nice, solid filter. The distortion on it and stuff is nice. Actually, I hadn't really explored the distortion side, so I think I've mostly been using just the straight low pass out, which if I remember right, the low pass out does not have the wave folding. It does have the saturation. Which is cool. So if you wanted just the saturation, you have the dedicated low pass out. I think you probably can get multiples too if you want to get really funky. You can split the voice and then come out of the multiple outputs and use them differently. The wave folding, again, though, is only on the 4-pole output. But I bought it because I bought this along with a handful of filters. The other being, I bought the, where are you? The Viol Ruina at the same time and the Trash Master at the same time. Just to get one, at that time I didn't really have many filters in my system, so I wanted a couple more to mess with. So I bought the Carbon, the Viol Ruina, and the Trash Master. I've mostly been using the Carbon just as kind of a more clean filter, so not with the saturation on or with the folding on, and just using that 4-pole, or sorry, the low pass output. So today is just kind of exploring all the other stuff that's going on here, see what else it does. Yeah, so that's that fold. And again, that's been with the resonance down. If I turn the resonance up with the fold on, I'll turn it up like halfway. Oh, you can hear it in the low already. Yeah, I don't even want to take it all the way up because it's so bad. But bad in a good way. Not bad in a bad way, to be clear. Let me turn the mix down a bit, so I don't blow out anybody's eardrums if I do this. So that's with the fold on, resonance set about halfway, all the way open. Again, this is a chord coming into it. It's not a monophonic voice, so it's a bit different, but yeah, I mean, that's actually funny because the spectrograph, it gets past the kind of worst part of it and it cleans up a bit, but like right about there, it's just solid. That's funny. So yeah, I mean, this thing, it'll definitely distort. If you want distortion, that'll do the job, certainly. Now let's go crazy. Let's turn fold on and the saturation all the way up. There we go. And the resonance up. So that's interesting. It's actually mellower, I think, my opinion. And the spectrograph still kind of backs this up. You can see, like, it's not as dense. A little hard to tell just because you guys have, like, this angle and data's like a tiny little brick, but... Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. It's pretty, you know, it's got some flavor to it. I guess my original, I think this was just because I've been using it as a clean filter, but my kind of original take of it was that it was very clean, but I also was not using the 4-pole output. I realize now. I think pretty much was only using the low pass output. So I mean, with the saturation, with the folding and everything, there we go. So that's on there. Yeah, I mean, that's mean. No doubt about that. That's mean. So yeah, so that's the Chord. Let's just take a clean sine into it, or not a sine, but I'll take a saw. I have a saw from the DCO. So let's just hear what this sounds like clean. Okay, I have a little sequence playing this too, which is cool. That's got the resonance up. So resonance down, low pass mode, no folding, no saturation, just with a saw input. Nice clean saw mode. What other filters do I have in my rack at the moment? Good question. So I have the Carbon, the Morpheus, the Linnaeus, the Angle Grinder I would consider a filter. I think it's a filter for the most part. The Wasp, the Valerina, 100 Grit, Trashmaster. I think that's it. Plus all of, obviously, the ones that are built into voices. So like the lip has its own filter section on that as well. Same with the Deckard's voice. But so pretty decent size. Like 2 of those are stereo. The rest are mono, I think. Decent mix, not bad. Plenty. I like the 4HP. 4HP is a good size. I know, like I think there was some discussion on the Discord today that the Carbon was too small. I don't think so, personally. I think like that knob size, and I have big hands too, so that's like I don't have too much problem with 4HP. Anything smaller than that, I think is too small. But I think this is a good size. The buttons are decently placed, so you're not having to like, you can get in there and hit the buttons. Recently picked up the AJH SV filter. Has a wave folder. Yeah. So CK Sample has a bunch of those, the AJH stuff too, which they look really nice aesthetically speaking. I don't know much about them though, beyond that they look nice. But he seems to like them, and I think a lot of people do like their stuff as well. Anyway, where were we? So this is the clean saw in. Let's just turn on the saturation to the first step. Saturation. One more. So on the clean saw, I don't notice the saturation that much. I'll step through it all the way open again, we can see. I'd say like up until that last one, I think somebody else mentioned this as well, but up until that last step you don't really notice it, and then it kind of comes in. Cool. How about the fold? What does the fold sound like? Fold is nice. I like the fold on the saw like that. That sounds pretty good. Let's add the saturation too. And I'm just going to go straight to the high saturation. Interesting. Let's switch data over here. What does that look like? Ooh. So that's the wave right now. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera or not. Let me, a little hard to see, you can kind of see it. So that's what that wave looks like. If we turn off the fold, oops, that was saturation. There we go. And I unfreeze the, come on. What did I do? That's more like a clean, that makes sense. So the saturation kind of rolls it off a bit. You get more of a clean sign. Cool. Alright, let me take my, actually can take my envelope out of here. And cool. All right, let's, I was gonna mess with pinging the filter just to see what that sounds like. And that's why I had the Metron wired to trigger. Just to make a Mr. Stu J very mad with my errant Metron glow button down here. Dedicated ping input, which is cool. Turn the resonance up. That's the filter ping. going to take this, I'm going to put it in FM to see what that sounds like. Not a whole lot. So it's really just the ping input that wants the filter ping. Seems like it's kind of, the filter thing is kind of one note. I don't know if that's expected or not, but. Because this self-oscillates, we can hear it as a sequence. And hear it as an oscillator. Let's take the V-oct from here and just bring it into the a dedicated voltage per octave input, which is nice. There is, it's a little hard to tell, but turn up the frequency actually. It's pretty much a straight, clean sine wave, but the saturation actually doesn't really affect it, because the saturation on the saw basically turned the saw to a sine wave, so it would make sense that the saturation on a sine wave would make the sine wave do nothing because it's already a sine wave. The fold definitely adds a little more character to it because it's folding the wave over. Some interesting tones, like right as it's on the threshold of self-oscillating. Oh, maybe that was what I was missing before with the pinging. Let's try that with it. Like here. Still kind of one note. Very squelchy. It's also possible I'm totally doing this wrong. I do have it in high pass. Anyway, not bad for just a filter, an oscillator, tracks. That's not bad. You know, 4 HP, I think it was pretty cheap too, like 150, 160. What is the... Ooh, never mind. A little more expensive than I thought. 190. But, I mean, it's a nice, full-featured little filter. Can't complain about that. Let's see. Yeah, anybody have anything else they want me to test with this thing before I... Cool. Alrighty then. Well, that was pretty much all I had with the filter, so I'm gonna call it there for today. Just mess around with some other stuff. If anybody else, for future reference, if there's a module in the system that somebody finds interesting that they haven't seen a lot of, let me know, and I'm happy to do more videos like this. This kind of exploration mode. This was pretty good. I think. This was a good size module for this, right? There's not too much to check out. There's just enough. It's got enough interest to it within the module itself, which is cool. Yeah. So let's see, just to recap. Saturation, the FM, and resonance both have, or all three of those have CV control, which is cool. So you can CV the resonance and the saturation. I'm imagining, and I'll check this right now with my handy dandy long patch cable trick. Problem with having a giant case is that your case is giant, and if you don't have giant patch cables, then they don't reach. But I think the saturation is stepped. I don't think it is continuous. Let's find out. Oh, it actually does seem to be continuous. That's interesting. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, saturation is continuous. So the button itself is stepped, but if you bring CV into the saturation input, it is a nice continuous smooth input. So good to know. Folding is binary. There is no CV over the fold, which kind of makes sense. You can only fold the wave so much. I guess you could increase the number of folds, but fun times. Cool. All right, I will drop. Thank you guys for checking this out. Hope this was mildly amusing. Peace.